it's not going to affect if there is a board, the board is being inaugurated. It's not going to affect. So why we are appointing and entering administration is because of the forensic audit. What and what we observe, we are trying to resolve those issues that are being raised from the forensic audit. But for now, nothing of such has been raised or has been made public to Nigerians or the Niger Deltans for them to know that this is why we are appointing entering government pending when we resolve the issues from the forensic audit.
Now, if we go ahead and then the president concedes to appointing and inaugurating the board without us knowing what the forensic audit has said, don't you think it's going to affect the commission somehow?
Yes, it's going to affect the commission greatly. It's going to affect, not somehow, it's going to affect the commission greatly because there have been plans. We are almost at the second quarter of the year. There have been plans from the first quarter which have not been achieved because I know projects NDDC has not done so well, and then for the Minister of Niger Delta, Senator Gosula Pabio, to also leave that seat vacant is also disturbing the board. It's also worrisome to the board. So what we needed to do is that they need to.
There is currently a new minister.
Yes, there is currently a new minister. So after the forensic audit report need to be made available to him for him to go through it and also for them to come up with those plans. One, there are some contractors that have not even been paid. There are some contractors that have not been paid, so they need to checkmate all this.
He said the forensic audit should be made available to him or to the entire Niger Deltas.
It should be made available to him and also the Niger Deltas for them to see that this is the outcome of the forensic audit. Because we might be, they are complaining of or saying that entering government has been formed over time. They have been inaugurating entering government. But we don't know what and what has been put in place. Those reports, we need those reports to be made available to the Niger Deltans. Let's know what and what. Because yes, the commission itself, their duties is for them to elevate those oil communities that have been there, for them to elevate those oil communities. But for Christ's sake, they are not benefiting. If you go to our oil communities, nothing. The last time I visited Olobiri, you cried. At Bayelsa there, you shed tears because there is nothing to write home about. And this was where the first oil, they discovered the first oil in Nigeria. But another place is nothing to write home about. And these are issues that NDDC, yes, there is minister for petroleum, but NDDC need to look into this. If it is for them to create a skill acquisition centers and all the rest, there are some activities they needed to do to at least elevate those communities. Those communities are contributing to the nation, but they are not benefiting from the nation.
Hey, thank you very much. Well, just like our guest has said, I think the government owes it a duty to the people of Niger Delta to make public the contents, the discovery in the forensic audit. I mean, let's know what our challenges are. Let's know the way forward. And then secondly, there's interim government. Well, like a whole lot of stakeholders have said, it has really not been good in the past couple of years, and bringing it up again would not be good either. So it has to be a win-win thing. Let the government look at the plea and the call from the people. I mean, these are beneficiaries of the commission, and so if they cannot enjoy what the government has put in place for them, then there's actually no need for it. So it is time that the government listens to the people, make public the reports, the forensic audits, and No more interim government. It is time for a board to be set up, at least as provided for by the act. And so if this is done, then things will actually be done the right way. And then we do hope that whoever is going to be on the board will be focused on the core mandate for which this commission was put in place. I mean, it's not a time to go fill your pockets. It's a time to serve the people, to ensure that Niger Delta is actually developed as the commission says. Well, that's so much we are going to be having on today's show. Thank you once again, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, our guests, for being out there. We do hope you join us again tomorrow for another interesting time. I am Anita Obari. You can follow us on our social media handles, Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Do not hope that peace and unity are the pathways to progress.
In our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship, 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honourable
you human trafficker.
Honourable They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blow.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
It's
news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact day, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You're a human.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
It's a beautiful day on your favorite channel, Atlantic Television Network, and this is the International Tidbit, a platform where news and events from across the globe, laced with stakeholders' analyses, are presented to bring the world to your doorstep. And now to stories making the headlines. AFDB president optimistic in solving Zimbabwe debt crisis. Ivory Coast demands the release of their country's 49 soldiers arrested in Mali. Turkey to host Russia, Ukraine, and UN to discuss grain exports. EU gives Croatia final approval to adopt euro currency in 2023. This and lots more just after the break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. African Development Bank, AFDB, President Akinwumi Adesina said on Tuesday he was optimistic about talks with Zimbabwe to solve its debt crisis. Zimbabwe has accumulated billions of dollars of debt and has not received funding from global financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank for years. You cannot run up a hill with a bag of sand on your back, Adesina said, referring to the Southern African country's external debt, which he had put at $13.5 billion. In March, the IMF noted that Zimbabwe had come up with a debt resolution strategy and started token payments to creditors in an attempt to re-engage. But it said stakeholders are also wanted to see political and economic reforms. Zimbabwe's overseas creditors include the World Bank, AFDB, European Investment Bank, and other multilateral and bilateral lenders. We have to continue with the reforms we have started and make sure they are completed so that we can continue to stabilize the economy, Nkobe said. Zimbabwe recorded annual inflation of around 192% in June, piling added strain on people struggling with shortages of basic items in the shops. Soaring inflation has evoked memories of economic chaos under former leader Robert Mugabe's near four-decade rule. Ivory Coast on Tuesday demanded the release of 49 of its soldiers arrested in Mali, an incident that may worsen tensions between Mali's military rulers and other West African nations amid efforts to quell an Islamist insurgency and restore democracy rule. The Ivorian soldiers were arrested on Sunday at Mali's main international airports in the capital, Bamako. Mali's military government said the troops arrived without permission, that some of the passports indicated non-military professions, and that they gave differing versions of the mandate. The junta said the soldiers will be considered mercenaries and charged as such, adding that Ivorian authorities were unaware of their arrival. But Ivory Coast said on Tuesday the soldiers were deployed as part of a security and logistics support contract signed with the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali in July 2019, and it demanded their immediate release. They were the 8th rotation sent to Mali under the convention, and their mission order had been sent to both airport authorities and the junta before arrival. Ivory Coast National Security Council said in a statement. The spokesman for the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, Olivier Salgado, confirmed this information on Twitter. Ivory Coast added that none of the soldiers carried arms or wore munitions as they disembarked, but that a second plane contained arms for self-protection authorized by the United Nations. Malian authorities did not immediately respond to reporters' request for comment. Interim President Colonel Assimi Goïta said on Twitter that he had spoken by telephone with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and reiterated the importance of partner nations respecting Mali's sovereignty. The country is struggling to rein in an Islamist insurgency which took root after an uprising and a coup in 2012 and has since spread to neighboring countries, killing thousands and displacing millions across West Africa's Sahel region and coastal states. The military junta ruling Mali since August 2020 has been at odds with regional and international bodies for failing to hold promised elections and delaying the return to constitutional rule. The global population is expected to reach 8 billion on November 15th. The United Nations has forecast, with India set to overtake China as the world's most populous country next year. The UN noted on Monday it had taken hundreds of thousands of years for the world population to reach 1 billion and only 200 years to grow sevenfold. In 2011, it stood at 7 billion, while the forecast by the US Department of Economic and Social Affairs said the world's population is growing at its slowest pace since 1950. It said that the effects of the previous rapid growth would be felt by years to come. The dramatic growth has been driven largely by increasing numbers of people surviving to reproductive age, and it has been accompanied by major changes in fertility rates, increasing urbanization, and accelerating migration. The UN said these trends will have far-reaching implications for generations to come. The report forecast the global population to reach 8.5 billion in 2030 and 9.7 billion in 2050, peaking at about 10.4 billion people in the 2080s before steadying at the level until 2011 and 100. The UN said while the growth in population was indicative of the advances in health and economic development, it also underlined the need for effective policies to tackle the world's most pressing issues. Progress is not universal, throwing inequality into razor sharp relief, it said. The same concerns and challenges raised 11 years ago remain or have worsened. Climate change, violence, discrimination. More than half of the rise forecast in the world's population in the coming decades will be concentrated in just 8 countries, according to reports. It said that they are the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Philippines, and Tanzania. 7 children have been killed in a blast at Magba, a village in Town Prefecture in the Savannah, the northmost region of the country, which has been under a state of emergency since last June. In a statement, the Togolese army said Sunday's blast caused the death of 7 children and caused injuries to 2 others, but did not give other details. The victims were between the ages of 14 and 18, a medical source at the regional hospital told reporters. An investigation is opened to clarify the circumstances of this explosion and identify the perpetrators, the statement added. The youngsters were returning home at night from celebration of the Muslim holiday El Adha. There are concerns among the local population that the blast may be the work of armed groups which are gradually sneaking into the country from neighboring Burkina Faso, which has become the epicenter of conflict in the Sahel. Since June 13th, the Savannah region has been under state of emergency since June 13th, following a decree signed by President Farouk Azengbe, following a deadly attack against the Togolese army. The decision was taken after the 2 terrorist attacks perpetrated in this northern part of the country in the space of 6 months. That's from November 10th to 11 and 2021 and May 10 to 11, 2022 against the operation. The statement also said that the decision was necessary to facilitate a better delivery of public services and defense and security forces, the statement added. Authorities in Togo established Operation, a military outpost, as part of efforts to thwart potential moves by armed groups in Burkina Faso to sneak in the country. In the May attack, 8 soldiers were killed and 13 others wounded at a security outpost in the locality of Benja in the Savannah region by unknown gunmen. Last November, security forces repelled a similar attack by identified armed men that the government believed came from Burkina Faso. Since the May attack and the announcement of the state of emergency, the army has further ramped up its presence in the region and called on the population for collaboration in the bid to overcome the rising insecurity. Experts in the region have called for close attention from both state leaders and local communities as more incidents pop up. The security situation in the sub-region is very dire, said Alwyn Dasso, the Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Accra. We are not aware of the latest incident, but the region is grappling with terror threats. Togo, Ghana, Benin, and Burkina Faso must be very careful and issue control of their territories, he said. Countries must sensitize the population to be more security conscious, he added. Eugene Atigan, the leader of Comet International Les Sapeurs Caperet, a Togolese civil society group, said the fact that the event happened during the El Adha celebrations and to children is proof that the entire population is in danger. Without wasting much time, we'll go for a short break, after which we'll return for all of the news. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. While there is temporary relief for millions of displaced Syrians as a crucial UN aid operation from Turkey to northwest Syria has resumed, aid workers and rights groups have warned that the time frame will put people at risk of hunger, homelessness and disease during the coldest months of the year. The United Nations Security Council passed a resolution on Tuesday to resume aid deliveries through the Bab al-Hava border crossing to 4 million people in the last rebel-held area of Syria, but only for 6 months as Russia has demanded. The broader resolution, first adopted in 2014, had allowed UN agencies to reach beleaguered civilians from 4 land crossings, 1 in Iraq, 1 in Jordan, and 2 from Turkey, without the permission of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. But along with China, the Kremlin has used its veto to reduce the number of UN crossing over to last 2 years. Bab al-Hawa, the last remaining crossing, had closed on Sunday after Russia, an ally of al-Bashar, rejected a proposal to renew the resolution for 1 year. Aid groups told reporters that UN and Western donor countries need to prepare a viable contingency plan in case the cross-border resolution is not renewed again, as they could only cover a fraction of the relief that UN agencies provide to northwest Syria. They said the failure to renew the operation in winter would also compound a likely rise in hunger, homeless, and deaths from treatable diseases. Due to the sheer scale of aid that is provided by the UN through the cross-border mechanism, it will be impossible for NGOs to completely cover the gaps that would be created, alias Abuta Atta, the communications manager for the International Rescue Committee, told reporters. Since 2014, Syrian relief groups have benefited from the Syrian Cross-Border Humanitarian Fund, which UN agencies are tasked with allocating under the cross-border resolution. Last year, SCFH financed 31 NGOs and 53 projects. We work with 5 UN agencies, and they fund about 80% of our programs, said Yang Zhan, CEO of the Marathon Foundation for Relief and Development, which provides housing assistance and education to Syrians in need. If the funding ever stops, we'll need to lay people off until we find new donors. But 80% of our colleagues are refugees or internally displaced persons. We would be cutting livelihoods and funds from their families. The United States, the United Kingdom, and France, which sustained from the UN Security Council vote on Tuesday, have also said that 6 months does not provide enough time for aid groups to operate effectively. Ankara has said military delegations from Turkey, Russia, and Ukraine will meet with United Nations representatives on Wednesday to discuss the safe export of Ukrainian grain. Military delegations from Turkey, Russia, and Ukraine and the United Nations delegation will be conducting talks in Istanbul tomorrow regarding safe transfer of grain waiting in Ukrainian ports to international market via sea routes, Turkish Defense Minister Akar said on Tuesday. The talks come at a time of record high food prices globally, as conflict in Ukraine, the world's largest grain supplier, has fueled concerns about food security. Turkey has played a key role in talks between the UN, Russia, and Ukraine on a potential Black Sea corridor to export grain from Ukraine. Ukraine has struggled to export goods, with many of its ports blocked as war rages along its southern coast. Grain constitutes nearly a fifth of all its exports. Officially, data shows Kyiv has accused Moscow of stealing grains from territories seized by Russian forces since the invasion began in late February. The Kremlin calls the action a special military operation, has denied such accusations. Ahead of the talks, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said there is a way to go in the negotiations to try and resume exports of grain from Ukraine. We are working hard indeed, but there is still a way to go. Guterres told reporters, many people are talking about it. We prefer to try it and do it. Ukraine's foreign ministry said the issue must be resolved under the auspices of the UN. Ukraine advocates that the issue of unblocking Ukrainian grain be resolved under the auspices of UN. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Oleg told the news agencies. In this context, we are grateful to Secretary General Antonio Guterres for his active efforts to find a solution that will guarantee the security of the southern regions of our country, he said. A Russia Foreign Ministry spokesman confirmed the meeting, but also insisted that Moscow had a list of demands. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has tried to use his good relations with Russian counterparts and Kyiv's Western-backed leaders to thrust Ankara into the center of negotiations about Ukraine. Turkey has been sending defense delegations to both Moscow and Kyiv in a bid to break the deadlock over Ukraine's grain. A plan proposed by the UN would see the shipment start along specific corridors that avoid known locations of mines. Ukraine has refused to demine the area out of the fear that Russia might then stage an amphibious assault on its cities, such as the Black Sea port of Odessa. Northern Ireland's Orange Order members have paraded through Belfast under the tight security, marking the anniversary of the July 12, 1690 victory of the Protestant killing William of Orange over his Catholic rival King James XI. Crowds of spectators clutching Union flags on Tuesday gave way to a heavy police presence, armored white cars and officers in dark green uniforms as the pro-United Kingdom marchers passed the nationalist pro-Ireland neighborhood, a reminder of the sectarian divisions that come to the fore as Unionists celebrate the 12th. The celebrations are the busiest day of the year for the police in Northern Ireland, which was plagued by 30 years of sectarian bloodshed over British rule until a 1998 peace agreement between nationalists who are mostly Catholic and support joining the Republic of Ireland, and Unionists who are mostly Protestant hope to remain part of the UK and include Orange Order members. The Grand Orange Lodge of Ireland estimates 500,000 people will take part in events at 18 locations across Northern Ireland to celebrate the culmination of the marching season. Long flashpoints for sectarian tensions, the July 12 marches and lighting of massive bonfires commemorate Protestant kill William III out of the deposed Catholic James II at the Battle of the Bann in 1990. The parades come as the restive province wrestles with political crisis. Northern Ireland is in its third month without a functioning government following May elections. And in London, the resignation of Prime Minister Boris Johnson has created further instability with the Conservative Party candidates bidding to succeed him staking out positions on the post-Brexit trading rules for the territory as agreed in the Northern Ireland Protocol. As Orange Order members dressed in dark suits, bowler hats, and orange sashes marched to the sound of fifes and drums past Belfast City. The reporters are very clear that it's robustly opposed to the protocol. It's about long-term political and economic divergence between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. The Orange man from the Belfast said, the 43-year-old said discussion of the protocol was clearly central to the ongoing Conservative Party leadership contest. Across Northern Ireland on Monday evening, more than 250 bonfires were lit in Unionist communities to kick off festivities. A man in his 30s was killed on Saturday when he fell from a 50-foot bonfire pile in Larne. The pile was subsequently dismantled. There were about 573 Orange Order parades through Saturday, 33 of which passed through Catholic areas where tensions could boil over. About 2,500 officers will be on duty to head off any violence, the Police Service of Northern Ireland said. Authorities are treating an incident on Thursday, which petrol bombs and bricks were thrown in a bonfire site in North Belfast, as a hate crime. Months of loyalist marches in Northern Ireland leading up to 12 July have been characterized by Unionist opposition to the protocol, which governs the province's post-Brexit trade. The arrangement, part of the UK's divorce deal, will, with the European Union, impose checks on goods between Great Britain and Northern Ireland in order to avoid a hard border with the Republic of Ireland. Proposed legislation introduced under Johnson to scrap parts of the protocol is currently making its way through the UK Parliament. Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party has refused to return to the province's power. Sharing government under the protocol is dismantled. A Spanish court has ruled that an autopsy be performed on the body of Angola's former president, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, who died in a clinic in Barcelona on Friday, a court spokeswoman said. She said the court had granted the request of a family member for the autopsy, which was yet to take place, but provided no further details. The Carmen Varela family law firm representing Dos Santos' daughter Cheze Dos Santos said earlier she had asked for her father's body to be kept in Spain for a full autopsy due to alleged suspicious circumstances of his death, without providing evidence. According to the office of Angola President João Lourenço, his predecessor, who stepped down 5 years ago, died at the Techno Clinic in Barcelona, where he was being treated following a prolonged illness. He was 79. The clinic declined the comments on the request for an autopsy or the details of his death. The elder Dos Santos had been receiving medical treatment since 2019. In June, Portuguese news agency Lusa reported he was in intensive care in Barcelona, citing a source close to him, as the Angolan government said the former leader's health had deteriorated. Cheze and her lawyers also argued that Dos Santos' wish was to be buried in Barcelona rather than his body being returned to Angola for a state funeral. Despite being handpicked by the Dos Santos to succeed him, Lourenço swiftly moved to investigate allegations of multi-billion-dollar corruption during the former president's era, often involving the Dos Santos family. A man of few speeches and interviews, Dos Santos never specifically responded to the allegations that he had allowed corruption to become rampant. Stay with us as we leave for a short break to be back in a jiffy. You're welcome back. UN officials will investigate the killing and wounding of children in Ukraine, Ethiopia, and Mozambique. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said in a new report that found 2,515 children were killed and 5,555 maimed in global conflict in 2021. The annual Children and Armed Conflict report released on Monday also verified the recruitment and use of 6,310 children in conflict globally in 2021. Other violations the report covered included abductions, sexual violence, school and hospital attacks, and denial of aid during conflicts. The report found that the highest number of verified violations against children in 2021 were in Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Somalia, Israel, and the Palestinian territories. Guterres said next year's report would include verified violations against children in Ukraine, Ethiopia, and Mozambique. The UN Chief Special Convoy for Children and Armed Conflict, Virginia Kamba, said that the two most concerning violations emerging from the conflict in Ukraine were the killing and maiming of children and attacks on schools and hospitals. So I think these two clearly are going to be very high, said Gamba, who compiles the annual UN report. Without laying blame, UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet said last week that as of July 3rd, some 4,889 civilians had been killed in Ukraine, including 335 children, stressing that the real figure is likely much higher. Russia invaded neighboring Ukraine on February 24 and denies going after civilians. The Children and Armed Conflict report concludes a blacklist intended to shame parties to conflict in the hope of pushing them to implement measures to protect children. The report has been controversial, with diplomats saying Saudi Arabia and Israel exerted pressure in recent years in a bid to stay off the UN's blacklist. It is also always controversial when this report comes out every year, because it comes out listing all the evidence of abuses, deaths, wounded children in conflicts and around the world, said James Bays. The back of the report has an annex, which is the blacklist that says which countries and which armed groups are responsible for killing and wounding children. And that is the controversial bit, because you can read the body of the report and what it says about all these conflicts. And then you can look at the list, and some of the perpetrators that are mentioned in the report are not on the list. Israel has never been on the blacklist. A Saudi-led military coalition was removed from the list in 2020, several years after it was first named for killing and injuring children in Yemen. Most of the parties to the war in Yemen are on the list, but the Saudi-led coalition, which killed or maimed 100 Yemeni children in the last year, is not on the blacklist. Best said, if you look at the situation regarding Israel and Palestine there, neither Israel nor any of the Palestinian groups are on the list, even though the report stresses that some 86 Palestinian children were killed in the year, he said. Israeli security forces killed 78 Palestinian children, maimed another 982, and detained 637 in 2021. According to the report, while in Yemen, the Saudi-led coalition killed and maimed 100 children last year. Should the situation repeat itself in 2020 without a meaningful improvement, Israel should be listed, Guterres wrote in the report. He noted a continual decrease in the number of child casualties by the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. The Israeli and Saudi UN missions in New York did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the report. More than 15,000 people have been marched in Romania's capital, Bucharest, for equal rights for gender and sexual minorities, as the country's lower chamber of the parliament is set to vote on a law later year that this bans discussion of homosexuality and gender identity in public spaces. An amendment to the Romanian child protection law that was proposed by the Democratic Alliance of Hungarians in Romania, an ethnic minority party that is part of the ruling coalition, was inspired by a similar law which was adopted by Hungary in 2021. After being passed by the Senate in April and approved by the Romanian Human Rights Commission, the bill needs the backing of the lower chamber of parliament, the way it looks like at the moment. This bill is completely anti-democratic and from many points of view, mainly because it hinders the freedom of expression and because it stands against all treaties, conventions, and international recommendations regarding LGBT rights, said Leona, who participated in the Saturday's Bucharest Pride to support the community and oppose the bill. Goluta, a professor at the Political Science Faculty of the University of Bucharest with expertise in gender studies, political representation, and gender equality policies, is concerned about the ambiguous formulation of the bill. She thinks it could lead to consequences as far as reaching as gender studies being banned in universities and individuals being incriminated for posting information related to gender identity on their personal social media accounts. The European Parliament LGBTI intergroup expressed their concerns about the bill in a statement, urging members of the Romanian legislature to be clear and resolute on striking it down, deeming it as another attempt to galvanize hatred in Romania. Mark Angel, the group's so-called co-chair, added that this bill has no human rights compliance and serves no societal purpose, but to ostracize and those already discriminated against. A similar law attempting to ban gender identity information in Romanian schools and universities was deemed unconstitutional by the Romanian Constitutional Court in 2020 after being passed by the Senate and the Parliament's lower chamber. Back then in 2020, when the law passed through the Parliament, it felt like the world collapsed on me because I realized I couldn't be myself anymore, said Gabriel, a 20-year-old transgender community activist and community facilitator with Accept Romania, an NGO advocating for LGBTQ rights. I'm sure this time it would be the same if it would pass, but nobody with real political power asked us young transgender people in Romania how we feel about it. German said, although same-sex relationships has been decriminalized in Romania since 2001, Romania remains conservative towards the LGBTQ community, with same-sex couples still not being allowed to marry or enter the civil partnerships. A banner in support of equal democratic rights was displayed during the Bucharest Pride March. We continue to hope that this law will not be passed by the Romanian Parliament, as this is a clearly unconstitutional initiative which places us under Russia, in opposition with European values that we adhere to by the will of the Romanian people, by being part of the EU and signing the Human Rights Convention, said Teodora. A banner with a hate message towards same-sex marriage was displayed during a counter-protest organized by Nara Depreta, a far-right group. In 2018, conservative and religious organizations attempted to change the constitution through a referendum to prevent same-sex marriage from ever becoming legal. The referendum failed after voter turnout fell below the threshold of 30% needed to validate it. About 200 people displaying anti-LGBTQ rights banners and Christian Orthodox imagery participated in a counter-protest in response to the Pride March on Saturday. The protest has been taking place on the same day as the Pride March since 2005. Young people participating at the Pride in the Tram event, young people participating in the Pride in the Tram event wave at people waiting in a tram station. We want to outline the fact that LGBT people exist and in all walks of life, and the tram takes messages for equality rights through various neighborhoods and reclaims public spaces and services for the community. It is also a message about the need for safety in public spaces. Russian lawmakers have proposed extending a ban on the promotion of non-traditional sexual relationships among minors and to now include adults as well. A senior legislator has said Russia's existing gay propaganda law, passed in 2013, has been used to stop gay pride marches and detain LGBTQ rights activists. Under the proposed changes to the law, any event or act regarded as an attempt to promote homosexuality could incur a fine. Authorities said they are defending morality in the face of what they argue are un-Russian liberal values promoted by the West. Human rights activists said that the law has been broadly applied to intimidate Russia's LGBTQ community. We propose to generally extend the ban on such propaganda regardless of the age of the audience, be it offline, in social media, or the internet. The head of the State Dormant Information Committee, Alexander Nixon, said on his day. Russia's parliamentary speaker, Volodymyr, said last week that since Russia had quit the Council of Europe human rights watchdog after invading Ukraine, it would now be able to ban the promotion of non-traditional values. It demands that the legalization of same-sex marriages in Russia are the things of the past. Volodymyr said attempts to impose alien values on our society have failed. Homosexuality was a criminal offense in Russia until 1993 and was classed as a mental illness until 1999. President Putin has aligned himself closely with the Orthodox Church, which rejects same-sex relationships and has made its social conservatism part of a narrative of Russia political and cultural revival that is now also being used to help justify the invasion of Ukraine. European Union finance minister have given Croatia the final approval to adopt the euro single currency on January 1st, 2023, replacing the Croatian kuna. I would like to congratulate my counterparts, Marek, and the whole Croatia for becoming the 20th country to join the euro area. The EU's rotating presidency said on Tuesday. Renting block in almost 8 years, just the euro has dropped to its lowest level against the US dollar in 20 years. The previous EU country to join the European single currency era was Lithuania in 2015. In the 27-nation EU, adopting the euro offers economic benefits stemming from deeper financial ties with the currency blocs, other members, and from the European Central Bank's monetary authority. The bank plans to raise interest rates for the first time in 11 years this month to tackle record inflation of 8.6% more tangibly. It means that any of the current Eurozone's 348 million inhabitants who visit Croatia will no longer need to exchange their cash for kuna. Euro entry also has political rewards because the shared currency is Europe's most ambitious project to integrate nations, giving them a place in the EU's core. That means a seat at the EU's top decision-making tables. The changes come as the euro's exchange rate for briefly touched 1% dollar for the first time in 20 years on Tuesday before immediately recovering. There are fears that a worsening energy crisis in Europe tied to Russia's war in Ukraine could send the Eurozone economy into a T-spin. Created in 1999 among 11 countries, including Germany and France, the euro has gone through 7 previous enlargements, starting with Greece in 2001. The appeal of euro membership is reflected by the last 3 expansions, which brought in Baltic states between 2011 and 2015. Joining the euro requires a country to meet a set of economic conditions. This relates to low inflation, sound public finances, and a stable exchange rates and limited borrowing costs. Croatia is relatively small and poor, so its euro entry will have limited international economic implications. The country has a population of about 4 million and per capita wealth that at 13,460 euros last year was less than half of the euro area average. Nonetheless, against the backdrop of the Russian war in Ukraine and Kyiv's hasty application for EU membership, Croatia's imminent adoption of the euro sent a potential significant politic. For another break, as we shall be back in a jiffy. You're welcome back. China's health authorities said on Tuesday that local governments no longer need to test some imported goods for the coronavirus in a move aimed at reducing the cost of its strict COVID-19 prevention measures. China began testing the packaging of chilled and frozen food imports for the virus in June 2020, after a cluster of infections among workers at a wholesale food market in Beijing. 6 months later, Beijing also advised testing on ambient products, even as a scientist said the risk of coronavirus infection through contact with contaminated surfaces was low. Local governments no longer need to test ambient foods or other goods websites, but it was not clear if the product would still be subject to checks at customs. Chilled and frozen foods will continue to be tested, however, but exporters will not face import suspensions when their foods get positive at customs checks. The steps come amid growing efforts to support China's flagging economy. China has linked previous COVID-19 outbreaks amongst dock workers with the detection of the virus on frozen food, but its intensive scrutiny and testing and disinfection of imported produce has added significant cost and disrupted trade. The virus has been detected on hundreds of chilled and frozen food shipments since 2020, with major supplies of meat, seafood, and other products suspended for weeks. Some local governments have gone beyond the national rules, with the city of Lhasa, capital of Tibet, banning imported frozen foods outright in an effort to reduce risk of the virus. And finally, Joe Biden is on his way to the Middle East of his first visit to the region as President of the United States, with Israel as his first stop. Biden is due to make brief remarks on Wednesday at an arrival ceremony before receiving a briefing from Israeli defense officials on the U.S.-supported Iron Dome system and a new laser-enabled system called Iron Beam. He will also pay his respects at Yad Vashem, Israel's memorial to Holocaust victims of World War II. The U.S. leader will spend 2 days in Jerusalem on walks and talks with Israeli leaders, including interim Prime Minister Yair Lapid and former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, before meeting Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas on Friday in the occupied West Bank. He will then take an unprecedented direct flight from Israel to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, as the kingdom does not recognize Israel's existence, for talks with Saudi officials and to attend a summit of Gulf allies. Israel, which is mired in political gridlock before a November 1 election, says it is raising 1,000 flags across Jerusalem to welcome the U.S. leader, who has not reversed former President Donald Trump's controversial decision to recognize the city as the capital of Israel. Palestinians see occupied East Jerusalem as the capital, and before the visit have accused Biden of failing to make good on his pledge to restore the U.S. as an honest broker in the conflict. We only hear empty words and no results, said Jibril Jarob, a leader of Abbas Rotten movement. Biden will meet Abbas in the occupied West Bank city of Bethlehem on Friday, but there is no expectation of bold announcements towards a fresh-paced process, meaning the visit may merely deepen Palestinian frustration. The PA is continuing to bet on the Americas and then the delusion that Biden's visit will present something to the Palestinians, he said. And that
634-1777. ATN Icons celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time
with us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube rather. It is Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram it is Atlantic TV Network, while on Twitter it is Atlantic TV Net. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Christopher Lucky. Up next is ATN Politics. Stay tuned.
Channel 194 or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Active TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
so no agreement with the EU, but
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence.
A world without tomatoes is like a string quartet without violins. Lauren Cohen, 1994 to 1992. Fruits and vegetables are a vital part of nutrition. One of such vegetables that have proven their nutritional value over time is tomato. Tomato is a vegetable commodity which originated in Western South America and Central America. It is consumed worldwide today. The edible berry part of the plant, Solarium lycoperiscum, is what we call tomatoes, also known as love apple and wolf's peach. Tomato in common parlance is treated as a vegetable, although botanically speaking, it is actually a fruit. Tomatoes are good antioxidants. The antioxidant lycopene has been linked to many health benefits, such as purifying the blood, nourishing the skin, lowering cholesterol, and reducing migraine. More so, it boosts immunity, lowers the risk of heart diseases, stone formation, and cancer. This vegetable contains vitamin A, B, C, E, and K. Other components are potassium, folate, carbohydrates, fiber, and 95% water. Tomatoes are grown all times in the year with the help of greenhouse. However, they grow faster in temperate areas and take about 5 to 10 days to germinate. Nigeria is the largest producer of fresh tomatoes in sub-Saharan Africa and 13th in the world according to Google Reports 2021. The country produces 10.8% of fresh tomatoes in the region. Over the last decade, fresh tomatoes had grown by 25%, from 1.8 million tons to an estimated 2.3 million tons. Tomato farming in Nigeria is done predominantly in the northern region: Kano, Jigawa, Plateau, Borno, Kaduna, Gombe, Bauchi, Sokoto, Kebbi, Nasarawa, Zamfara, and Kogi. These states have large plantations where the commodity is heavy.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Hello and good
good afternoon. Welcome to the program ATN Politics. If you're just joining us for the first time, what we do here on the platform is a program whereby trending political news, events, and stories are discussed with stakeholders, experts, as well as reporters. Through the conversation on this platform, ATN uses political talks about specific issue, party system, and actors to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. Conversation is insightful and is aimed at improving political debates that will ultimately engender a better society. Today on the program, we'll begin with a look at towards 2023 election. APC Northern Christian Group to Tinubu, we won't campaign for you. Why have they said they're not going to campaign for Tinubu? Is it connected to the Muslim ticket? Well, find out in the course of the program. Muslim ticket. It appears the gods want to destroy the APC, says Babachir Lawal. Well, that is his opinion, but you get the details of this in the course of the program. Still on 2023 election, Kaduna clerics team up, drum support to mobilize 1 million votes for Peter Obi. Joining me to look at this issue today on the program is Barrister Akintola Balogun. Barrister Akintayo Balogun is a legal practitioner. He'll be joining me after this break to provide his perspective on this issue. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. Just joining us, still watching ATN Politics. And with me in the studio is Barrister Akintayo Balogun. Barrister Akintayo, you're welcome to the program.
Very much.
Great to have you. Well, without wasting much time, let's get started with the issue of the day. First issue on lineup is towards 2023 election. APC Northern Christians group to Tinubu, we won't campaign for you. A coalition of Christians of Northern extraction in the All Progressive Congress, APC, has warned that the Muslim presidential ticket for the party for the 2023 general election would have serious and grave consequences. The coalition, comprising of Christian politicians in the 19 northern states within APC, said they cannot, in all fairness to their conscience and faith, go to their various constituencies to campaign for the Muslim ticket. The group stated this in a communique issued on Tuesday in Abuja at the end of its meeting, which discussed the issue of party's Muslim ticket and the implication to the nation, and signed by its chairman, Professor Doknan Pinin, and Secretary General Ishaya Bauk, the president, the candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, had on Sunday announced Kashim Shettima as his running mate, while describing the development as unacceptable. Coalition said Nigeria is a multi-religious and a constitutional democracy and not a theocracy, adding that the current political atmosphere of the nation is different from what occurred in 1993. Communique, in part, said the selection of a Muslim vice presidential candidate portray insensitivity to the Christians in the nation, the fear of the Christian in the north and the nation in general, that the APC party will be viewed as an Islamic party. Muslim ticket not possible in 2015. Why should it be possible in 2023? More so that we are apprehensive that the person picked might have had a hand in the Chibok girl saga and other terror activities. Muslim ticket would undermine the election chances of Christian candidates in APC in various states. In the north, the Christians in the north and the whole nation are highly aggravated, considering that the chairman of the party is a Muslim, the deputy chairman north is a Muslim, the president of the Senate is a Muslim, the speaker and deputy speaker are Muslims, and now both the presidential and the vice presidential candidate are Muslims. And apart from this violating the Constitution, Section 14, subsection 3, if this was to be reversed, that all these were Christians, can any Muslim in the north be able to sell the APC presidential ticket to any Muslim Ummah? They went ahead to say they warn of serious and grave consequences if the selection of a Muslim vice presidential candidate is not changed, maintaining, of course, they went ahead to say, for without unity, we cannot build. And any part or candidate, any party or candidate that elevates the greed of a few above the need of any has no business running Nigeria or running the country. We'll put it hold here, and let's get back to our guest to get his take. Barrister Akintayo, we have Christians from the APC extraction from the 19 states coming to warn the APC against, this Muslim ticket, saying, of course, they can't go to their constituency to say, we are campaigning for APC. What do you think this means, this development to the All Progressive Congress?
The we had so many expectations. From the very beginning, this have been the arguments, Muslim ticket. However, personally, there were persons I was, unconsciously saying, we have this person. In fact, let's mention names. We have Boss Mustafa, who is a Christian, and is from the north. We have Yakubu Dogara, former Speaker of the House, who is from the north. We also have strong politicians like Pauline Tallinn, former Deputy Governor of Plateau State, current Minister of Women Affairs. These are people that you would have looked and say, let's use these ones to compensate the Christian community. Now, one thing we must agree, or we must, whether we like it or not, the Christian community is aggrieved in Nigeria. A lot is going on. Today, if it is not bombing in the church, it is an attack in the church. There's just something happening against the church. We can see what is happening in Kaduna. Kaduna South has become a no-go area. It is attacked virtually, in fact, not just Kaduna South, both Kaduna South and North, and everybody have been a victim. But you see, one thing that would have helped to say, okay, we have you, the party would have done something to say, we have you in mind, we need to have somebody to represent you in the government by bringing in a person who is a Christian candidate. But, well, their political calculation, they felt, no, Shetima will produce more votes for them to win the election. For me, I see it as a bad calculation, but you see, politically, you don't know what they are up to. This is Nigeria. Anything can happen. You don't know the calculations that they have done to bring out Shetima as a candidate. I personally, it is something that I would have kicked. In fact, I am kicking against. It is not supposed to be. You are not allowing that level of acceptance. You are not creating that place for a one family. By this, you are now creating further division among the Nigerians. Some people said, okay, 1993, it happened in 93. You can't compare what happened then to what is happening now. Remember in 1993, we're struggling to cross over from a military government to a civilian government. So MKO Abiola and his vice then, they were like, this is the saviors that we need to deliver us from military era. So you cannot compare that with what we have now. Now it's just going to be a transition from one civil to another. And then you are now saying it can be Muslim ticket. We have done it elsewhere and it worked. It cannot work like that in a plural society like Nigeria. It cannot.
But hold on a minute.
Yes.
We're talking about internal democracy in parties. Ordinarily, do you think if proper consultation has been done, are we supposed to be having these dissenting voices coming from left, right, and center?
Well, the truth is that several consultations have been done, but whether they are proper is where the issue lies now. It's just like someone who says, I'm consulting. The question is, are you consulting from the right persons, or you are just moving from pillar to post and asking questions? So that is the question APC should ask themselves. Did they do proper consultation? Did they weigh all their options well? For me, I don't see it as they didn't do it well. And gradually, they are beginning to lose that support, lose that crowd that they had. There are people who are beginning to say, no, not Shetima. Shetima does not have a good track record. Why should you be bringing him in? That was why initially someone like me would have loved that present vice president would have been the APC candidate, so that it would have been easy. If he is the candidate, he can just look up north and take anybody. Now, you can imagine, let's say Osibanjo won that primaries, and Osibanjo decides to pick another Christian from the north to say, be my running mate, or he decides to pick somebody from the east and say, be my running mate. Do you think that will go down well? Is it not going to be a different story? Will the Muslim community not stand up against him heavily? In fact, he dare not bring out something like that.
Of course, I was going to get there because that is one of the questions that this group actually raised, because they said, assuming we are having a vice presidential candidate and a presidential candidate, all Christians, would a Muslim who are members of the All Progressive Congress go and still campaign for those individuals? Do you think that would have been possible? Because, of course, remember, what Tinubu is saying now is he wants somebody who's got the capacity to help him deliver. And, of course, the best bet, the square peg in the square hole, is Chitima.
You know, one of the things we're saying is, why is it that suddenly issue of competence is what we are talking about? When the president was talking, he wasn't talking about competence before. Sorry, when Tinubu, initially his argument was not on competence. His argument was, it is my turn. You know, it was not about whether he was qualified. You know, the argument then was, it is my turn to be there. Okay, now you have been given. Now, why don't you just look at it and say, okay, it is the turn of a Christian from the north to be your vice. You just looked at it, did a political calculation and said, no, we need competence. And then you brought in. Now, the question is this, like I said earlier, if Osibanjo had won that election, the primary election, and Osibanjo decides to pick maybe Boss Mustafa, who is a Christian, or he picks Yakubu Dogara, who is a Christian, picks them, either of them, as his running mate, do you think it would be acceptable to the northern Muslims or Muslims anywhere in Nigeria?
Well, I don't know.
It won't. It won't. It won't go down well with them. It's like sidelining them. And you know one thing about our society, Nigeria is still very much a religious society. Religion still plays a pivotal role in the politics in Nigeria. You cannot separate them. It's not like America where who cares? When Obama was, nobody knows where Obama belongs. You know, but he became president and he was president for 8 years. Those who are there now, nobody cares about whether they are Christians or they are Muslims. They just brought in the president, and then they looked, okay, how can we bring in the minorities? And then they brought in a woman who has an Asian, an American, an African origin and made her vice. You know, they don't. Okay, now back to Nigeria. Religion still plays a pivotal role in our system. In every gathering we do both opening prayer for Christians, opening prayer for Muslims. We do closing prayer for both. So that part is still very much in our system. So if we have religion so much, then you cannot close your eyes on it. Probably you say it's worked in some states. This is the nation. You must give everybody that sense of belonging.
Hold on 1 minute.
Yes.
A minute. Of course, he talked about competence. When he talked about competence coming from the north, don't you think when you say competence and you have 19 northern states and you can't single out one single Christian that would represent you or non-Muslim, is that not an insult on the non-Muslim people saying, well, we've got no capacity?
You know, that is where it's actually very painful. Like you said, we have 19 states in the north from which you could select just one person. And then in the whole 19 states, with all the politicians that we have, you could not just find one competent
with
person
capacity.
With capacity. For me, it's an insult to the Christian community. It's wrong.
But of course, when you try to narrow down this to the Christian, I get this talk because we don't have just Christian from the north. We have non-Christians. We have people who practice other religion from that zone. So I wouldn't like you to be narrowing it to Christian because of course we don't just have religion in Nigeria.
Yes, we don't have two religions, but we know that those are the two prominent religions. Like I said, the Nigerian system is still very much a religious. Our politics is and religion, they are so much intertwined. Now, let me give an example. When the sitting president, if he's invited or his government is invited to a religious program, a Christian religious program, he's most likely going to be represented by his vice. his vice will not go and represent the government in probably a program that is held in the mosque. You understand? So that is the society that we are. That's the kind of society that we find ourselves. In Nigeria, yes, I agree. There are traditional worshippers. There are free thinkers. There are people who don't care. And there are people who even call themselves atheists. We have them. But let us look at what we have in majority. What do we have in majority? It's either you're a Christian or you're a Muslim. That's why I kept on emphasizing the word Christian. Or okay, let's say a non-Muslim. Somebody who is just not practicing the Islamic faith.
Well, I prefer that.
Yes. Okay, let's say someone who is not practicing the Islamic faith. So now, 19 states of the Federation, and you could not get a single non-Muslim who is capable, who is competent, who has the ability to pull crowds, because that is what you want, who has the ability to deliver states and deliver votes. You could not get one. Then it's an indictment on the party. It's an indictment on the presidential candidate of the APC, and it's like you have looked at the community of non-Muslims and taken them to be the most irrelevant. That is what Tinubu has said in essence. So I very much disagree with his position. I very much disagree with it. I very much. And of course, he's beginning to lose that popularity. He's beginning to lose it. He's beginning to lose it. He may still have it in the West, but for the people in the North who feel that they are being sidelined, they are beginning to look elsewhere.
Well, you can disagree, but of course, I believe that the All Progressive Congress believe in their calculation. Well, we will be looking at the next issue on our lineup, Muslim ticket. And of course, there's something coming up from that angle. So we'll bring it to you after this break. Please don't go anywhere.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're still watching ATN Politics, and I've been speaking with Barrister Akintayo Balogun. Barrister Akintayo Balogun is a legal practitioner based in Abuja. Let's get on to the next issue, Muslim ticket. It appears the gods want to destroy The All Progressive Congress, APC, says Babachir Lawal, former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, has said it seems the Gauls wants to destroy the ruling All Progressive Congress and its presidential candidate to have made them mad into choosing Kashim Shettima, another Muslim, as running mate to Bola Tinubu. Reacting to the emergence of Kashim Shettima as the vice presidential candidate of the APC, Babachir, in a statement made available to the press, said he saw this decision coming and had made his reservation known to the proponent long before the announcement was made. The statement reads in part, he has chosen to bring religion to the front burner of Nigerian politics, who, Tinubu, and being a Muslim, he has chosen to take sides with his own religion. For all he cares, Christians can go to blazes with their votes, but he must also be told that there will be consequences for his choice. The result is that they have played on this long-term ambition to be president and have built it into a sort of desperation and a crescendo that easily justifies this satanic resort to a Muslim ticket. This is the calamity that has befallen my friend. He added, it appears that the Gauls want to destroy the APC and its presidential candidate and have chosen the instrumentality of the northern Muslim governors and their super ambition too, and Kashim Ibrahim for this purpose. Alhaji Kashim Shettima is a great gift from the northern governors to Tinubu. Advised Bola to make sure Kashim's two hands are always in his plain sight and empty. Now tell me, which Christian will vote for APC with the following contributions? Muslim presidential candidate from Lagos, Muslim vice presidential candidate from Borno, Muslim national chairman from Nasarawa State, Muslim deputy national chairman from Borno, that is Kyari, Muslim president from Katsina Buhari, Muslim Senate president Ahmed Lawal, and Muslim speaker from Lagos, Bajabia Mila, and Muslim deputy speaker, that is Wasi from Plateau. And, you know, the list is endless. He went on to say, una de try. So if my very good friend Tinubu, in a desperate bid to become president, allow himself to be made into a religious bigot or even a mujahideen, he is welcome. But it is a risk that will not play out positively if he's president for his presidential bid. But were he to win and become president of Nigeria, it will be as a sectional president, an Islamic president, and he will surely face massive discontent and opposition even before taking off. Bola Tinubu should be compared upon by whoever can do so to rescind this decision. President Muhammadu Buhari should exercise his power as the commander-in-chief and as the APC leader to revoke this nomination of the vice president by Tinubu. We'll hold it on there. He said a lot of things, quite a lot of things. That, of course, the ticket is dead on arrival. He said, of course, the ambition of no one should be made to separate the unity of this country. But, of course, we'll hold it here and let's get back to our guest. This is a very good friend of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Babachir Lawal, making this declaration. The Tinubu is desperate. And, of course, his northern governors are cashing in on his desperation. Do you think Tinubu is desperate?
Let us be very honest. Tinubu is desperate. And why did I say that? Tinubu had wanted to be vice president to President Buhari in 2015. He was advised against it. They said, no, you cannot be a Muslim from the south, and then we also have a Muslim from the north as president. Nigerians will not accept it. And that was why he accepted the advice and then brought in one of his prodigies. That was where Vice President Sibanjo came in. Fine. Fast forward to 8 years, 7 years after, or let's say 8 years after, you could see, he could see in between the line that there was a plot in the APC not to give him that ticket. You know, he now became angry and he started talking and he was speaking and saying so many things. That was where this issue of it is my turn that he said in Yoruba became a popular saying, you know, and all that. That is true. Again, you could see that we know that God gives good health. But you see, when you are old, you are old. There was something Aisha, this human rights activist said.
Aisha Yusuf?
Yeah, Yusuf. She also made a comment on that issue. She said, look at me. I have arthritis. She said it. I have arthritis. But I'm not going to, because I'm so desperate, I would now, let's say I contested in the Olympics, or I am qualified to contest. And then I know I have arthritis. But I will now still go and contest. Why? Because it is my turn. That was what she said. Now, that's also the same thing. He has some very serious health issues. Yes, it's God that gives good health. But you can see that you are not strong enough to occupy this sensitive and tedious office. But you still insisted you will go for it. We could see many times he stumbled, many times he was almost falling and all that. It's nature. But you have insisted on sidelining this nature and to insist that that presidency, in Yoruba, he said, Emilokon, it is his turn. For me, that is a show of desperation. There is nothing wrong if Tinubu for the rest of his life decides to remain a godfather. There is nothing wrong. Edwin Clark is a respected godfather in Nigerian politics. And what business does he have contesting for anything? Yet, he remained relevant in government. Why can't he, as a person, look and say, okay, age is no longer on my side, I'm not 100%, you know, let me allow these younger persons and remain as a godfather. Let me keep producing, let it be said that I produced the president. When he was talking, he said, I was the one that brought in Buhari. He tried the first time, that was also in Yoruba, he failed. He tried the second time, he failed. The third time he tried, he even cried. That was his words. You know, that is a show of desperation. I must get it at all costs. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. It's nothing but desperation. And I just hope that God is God that gives life. So let's pray God sees him through whatever he has put his hand into.
Well, the Babachir, the friend to Tinubu, is calling on the president to prevail on the party, to revoke the decision made by the presidential candidate. You are a lawyer. The candidate has made his choice. Do you think the president has that influence to, prevail on Bola Tinubu to, rescind his decision in the interest of the country, for the good of country?
Well,
he also called on the party national chairman not to sign the nomination.
You see, on that particular issue, the Constitution of Nigeria does not stop or does not say we should not have Muslim ticket. The Constitution recognizes equity, fairness, and justice. That is where we can now say, okay, from that, let us interpret that there should be equity, there should be fairness. But there's nowhere in the Constitution that says where there is a Muslim, the other, or let's say where there is a religion occupying one office, his vice should be occupied by the other religion. No, it's not constitutional. So the only place where you can hold the Constitution and say, okay, The Constitution provides for equity, it provides for fairness, provides for justice and all that. You know, the Constitution, for example, now in the House, in the National Assembly, what the Constitution provides for is there should be representation from all the zonal, the senatorial zones. The House of Rep, the same thing. There should be representation. So now, but the Constitution was not explicit. In fact, it never said anywhere that somebody must come from the north while the other one is from the south. What the Constitution emphasized is equity, fairness, and justice. So if the president is now being called upon to instruct or to advise Tinubu to rescind his decision, it is based on that call is based on it's not constitutional. It's just a call, probably, let's say, in the interest of the country, in the interest of the nation, in the interest of representation, in the interest of presence, and in the interest of the party. That is where that can come in. So the president cannot force it on him. I also want you to note something about Tinubu, which I should have said earlier. You know, initially, he had said, I am picking a candidate from the Northeast that is a Christian. I don't know if you heard that. Then he said that shortly after he got the presidential ticket of the party. He said, it was on news, my vice is going to be a Christian from the Northeast. So it is obvious that he was prevailed upon. Well, in what Babachi Lawal said, he said that the governors pushed him.
Of course, he's accusing the northern governors.
Yes.
I wanted to get to that point. If the northern governors would prevail on the APC to move the tickets down south for the good of country, why have they refused to prevail on the same party to ensure that the Christian is appointed running mate? Mind you, we have the likes of Lalong, you know, in this, among the clique of governors who, of course, were pushing that, of course, this goes down south. And the whole thing has changed, and he has been silent. What do you make of it?
You know, Governor Lalong was also one of the persons I have thought that the APC might pick, because he too is from, well, they say Plateau State is in the Middle Belt, but somehow he falls in the north. You know, he was one of the persons I felt he was going to be a candidate, but unfortunately, that's now, like I said earlier, Tinubu had said, my vice is going to be somebody from the northeast specifically, who is a Christian. Unfortunately, they prevailed on him. And it is obvious from what Babachi Lawal said that he was prevailed upon by these northern governors. And it's like, what Babachi Lawal is saying is that these governors have pushed you to your downfall. That's just what he's saying. And you know, Babachi, if you read in between the lines, you will know Babachi, he's pained by that decision. He kept on referring to Tinubu as my friend, my great friend, my close friend. You know, and I advised him, but it appears that the advice of the whoever, probably the governors, overshadowed whatever thoughts, whatever plan they had. And unfortunately, Tinubu was forced to take their option.
Well, he has made his decision. You know, the revelation made by Babachi Lawal cannot just be exhausted in a sitting, because he actually made quite a lot of revelation. And of course, he actually said, of course, if this decision is not changed, the party would, sink. We just hope that, of course, the APC will be able to do something. But let's quickly move on to the next issue on our lineup, because, of course, we have to look at that issue before leaving today. We need to bring the issue to you. Towards 2023 election, clerics in Kaduna team up with drum support to mobilize 1 million votes for Peter Obi. Ahead of the 2023 general election, a popular Kaduna Christian cleric, Pastor David Ayuba Azama, has vowed to mobilize 1 million votes for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. Pastor Azama expressed this in an interactive session with journalists in Kaduna at his church, the King Worship Chapel, and Ministries Incorporated. Sabon Tasha, the cleric, said, I will tell you Nigerians today, I will tell Nigerians today, let us vote Peter Obi. Peter Obi must get 1 million votes in Kaduna, which we would mobilize for. Speaking further, he said that he was happy that Peter Obi's running mate, Dati Ahmed, is a Muslim from Zaria and a credible candidate. Let Christians stand up, let reasonable Muslims stand up and deliver Peter Obi in 2023 to set Nigeria on the path of prosperity. A new Nigeria is coming when our naira will be equal to a dollar, and we will be leading exporter and the land will prosper. Ahi Azama, who has branch of his church in the US and other parts of Nigeria, said that God is going to bring resources to Nigeria to play a leading role in world affairs. We'll hold it on here and get to look at what the pastor has said, saying they are going to mobilize 1 million votes for Peter Obi in Kaduna. What do you make of this development? Because, we have beavers these days to check all these,
for me,
cooked up
for me,
votes.
It's a welcome development. One thing we must accept is that Nigerians are tired of the same story. Now, let's be very honest with ourselves. In 2015, Nigerians voted because they wanted something different. They wanted a different Nigeria. Personally, I was one of those that believed that let us shift from the usual. President Jonathan seemed not to be getting what Nigeria needed. So let's shift. And there was actually that shift. It happened. But let's be honest with ourselves. Nigeria is worse off than it was 7 years ago. We have to say that. Let us be factual about that. We can no longer travel as we used to. Whether you want to go by air or by road, it's not as easy as it was. Before, you could book a flight for 18,000 if you are booking ahead of time. Today, if you don't have 50,000, you cannot book for a flight. So we wanted something different, but unfortunately, it's like what we got was far from what we wanted. Now, the same thing now is happening in 2022, 2023. Nigerians want something different. And that is where this issue of Peter Obi is becoming popular, and it's like, this is the way to go. Peter Obi, I think about today, that was last week. Yes, that was last week. One Reverend Yinka Yusuf, based in Lagos, he came up, exactly the same thing that this Reverend said, exactly the same thing. He said, in Lagos, he's going to mobilize 1 million votes for Peter Obi. So you can see that there is a structure that is gradually being built across the Federation. And if each of them succeed in what they plan to do without any manipulation, then the victory margin will be wide, extremely very wide. Because in Nigeria, the highest votes a candidate has ever had, I think it's 18 million or 22 million. That's the highest anybody has had. So if you're able to mobilize 1 million votes from 36 states plus the FCT, that's already 37 million for one person. The fact is that Nigerians want something different. And that is why the Peter Obi Sudati campaign is becoming popular, and people are beginning to see them as capable. It's not, no, it is their turn. It's not no, I must be president in. No, there's this capacity. You can see that these people are technocrats. These people know, they understand the economy. These people have been in the system, not just the political system. These people are economists. It's like I'm already campaigning, I'm already doing a lot of campaign for them here. So, but the point is that people are beginning to say, let us put hands together to see. Probably this is the way. I am being careful about saying it because 7 years ago, we said the same thing. Unfortunately, it didn't, we were disappointed. So again, we are seeing another dimension, and we are just hoping, prayerfully hoping that if this works out, this will be the solution to Nigeria.
But getting 1 million votes from Kaduna, 1 million, how? That's that's where I get disturbed. How do you mobilize this 1 million vote? Because it's not about saying we would mobilize 1 million votes. How do you go about mobilizing 1 million votes? Mobilizing 1 million votes actually requires a lot of resources, yes, a lot of going here and there, talking to people.
Yeah, you see, it's whatever I believe whatever they decide to put their hand into, if they've seen it as a vision, I believe they can achieve it. Let's not say it's an exaggeration, because the truth is that if you look at the results from some states, the combined total is usually not even up to 1 million. In many of the
That's
states,
my worry.
Yes, many of the states. The only states where you get 1 million and above, Kaduna is one of them.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, Kanu, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and some of all those states. That's where you get that kind of population. Fine. If somebody says he wants to raise 1 million, of course, we have more population than we had in the past. And then from the result of INEC said more persons came out to either register or to get transferred. Myself, I applied for a transfer so that I can have it just a stone throw from my house. So, everybody, there's this move by everyone to say, let me either get my PVC or get it transferred to where I am. And then how they intend to achieve it, I don't know. But for me, I believe it's achievable. If all the youths that are on social media, move from social media, because INEC is not on social media, move from there to the polling units, I believe it's achievable. We have more than 1 million youths in Kaduna that are above 18 and can stand and say, Peter Obi is the right person. And the support he is beginning to gather is not restricted to non-Muslim society. It's everywhere. There's a video I saw. I was so impressed when I saw that video. A Hausa family, I don't know their religion. Hausa family. Yeah, I think they're Muslims because they dressed like people who were actually coming from prayers. And then they were saying, it is Peter Obi we are going for. He actually said it, and the video was all over.
Well, thank you for that contribution. We do hope to do this some other times on the program again. Thank you for watching and standing by. Remember, you can be part of this conversation by joining via our social media platforms. On Facebook and YouTube, it is Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram, it is Atlantic TV Network. And on Twitter, it is Atlantic TV Net. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I remain your host, Vincent Samuel. Do have a great day. Bye-bye.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television. Meets the
Honest, I'm good. Pick me, bros. Pick me. Okay. very good afternoon to you this blessed afternoon. And it is a wonderful time here on Atlantic Television Network. This is Business Roundup, your long-awaited show. It is right here in front of you, the show where we get to talk about big business, the way it's happening here in Nigeria and also in Africa and all over the world. We get to bring you business at your doorstep and talk to you about how to get to your business destination. We also go as far as bring it up mind-juggling and mind-blowing and business entrepreneurs to come share their business experiences also with you to ensure that you make the right business decision. I'm your host, Godwin Sunday. You're welcome on board. We will take the first section of the show, which is the news, but then we are also having a guest that's already standing by, but we will take it also as it unfolds. But first, the news, then the headline. Naira's weakened despite 172.95% rise in dollar liquidity. Naira falls to record low as traders track central bank's dollar sales. Investors lose 139 billion in 1 week. Blocked 450 million funds paralyzed Nigeria's travel agency industry. FGs begin installation of runway lighting in Lagos Airport. Welcome back. Naira, basic monetary unit of Nigeria, over the weekend weakened against the dollar despite a significant increase in liquidity at the investors and exporters forex window, the official foreign exchange market. After trading on Thursday, Naira lost 0.10% as the dollar was quoted at 428.16 compared to 425.75 closed on the previous day at the I&E window, data from the FMDQ indicated. Most foreign exchange market dealers who participated in the auction maintained bids at 413 Naira 50 kobo low and 444 Naira high. At the parallel market, also known as the black market, the local currency depreciated by 1 Naira to 615 Naira per dollar. Selling price from 614 Naira per dollar buying price. The persistent pressure on Naira has been attributed to increased demand for the greenback by the users amid shortage. Nigeria's external reserves, which give the Central Bank of Nigeria the muscle to defend the Naira, have declined by 3.0% year-to-date to $39.25 billion as of July the 4th, 2022, from $40.5 billion recorded at the beginning of the year. Atlantic Television have gathered that the Apex Bank continues to canvass its external reserves. The bank have had to ration foreign exchange by suspending individual withdrawals with Naira debit cards and lowering limit of international transaction to $20, that is about 10,000 Naira, from $100,000 equivalent to 50,000 Naira. The CBN in July 2021 stopped dollar sales to the Bureau de Change following what it described as the forex infractions. Consequently, the CBN pushed an increased dollar supply to banks to meet the legitimate needs of end users across the country. Such legitimate needs include business travel allowance, BTA, personal travel allowance, PTA, school fees and medicals, and others. Nigerian's currency, the Naira, has fallen to the lowest on record after traders adjusted price to reflect the rate Central Bank of Nigeria sold the currency amid a lack of dollar supply in the authorized foreign exchange market. Naira retreated 1.6% to 426.26 a dollar as of 3 p.m. local time. On Thursday, investors and exporters window, also known as Netfax in Lagos. The Netfax is regarded as the official market for foreign currency transactions in Africa's biggest economy, even if most Nigerians get their dollar from the black market. Pressure on foreign reserves, which is down 3.4% since the beginning of the year, despite higher oil prices in Africa's largest crude producer, have forced the central bank to cut down on dollar sales, creating scarcity of the greenback on the market. The dollar scarcity is creating a black market boom where the naira is exchanging at a record low of 615 to the dollar, giving a spread of 44% on the official rate. The dollar scarcity is creating a black market boom where the naira is exchanging at a record low of 615 to the dollar, giving a spread of 44% on the official rate. Still on the news, investors lost 139 billion at the end of trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index and market capitalization of equities listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange depreciated by 0.53% and 0.50% to close at 51.557.44 and 27,803 trillion last week. All other indices finished lower with the exception of the Nigerian Stock Exchange AFR Bank Value Index, which appreciated by 0.38%, while the Nigerian Stock Exchange ASEM, Nigerian Stock Exchange Foreign Bonds indices closed flat. According to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, 31 equities appreciated in price during the week, lower than 34 in the previous week. 26 equities depreciated in price, lower than 29 in the previous week, while 99 equities remained unchanged, higher than 93 equities recorded in the previous week. Nigerian Exchange weekly market reports showed a total turnover of 822.404 million shares worth 10.366 billion naira in 20,643 deals was traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange, in contrast to a total of 1,348 billion shares valued at 24,487 billion at exchange hands last week in 22,155 deals. The financial service industry measured by volume led the activity chart with 491.270 million shares valued at 499 billion traded in 9,961 deals, thus contributing 59.74% and 43.40% to the total equity turnover volume and value respectively. The conglomerate industries followed with 81.698 million shares worth 218.285 million naira in 605 deals. The third place was the consumer goods industry with a turnover of 55,052 shares worth 855.318 million naira shares in 3,093 deals. Traded in the top three equities, namely Guarantee Trusts Holding Company PLC, United Bank for African PLC, and Transactional Corporation PLC, measured by volume, accounted for 244.025 million shares worth 2.680 billion naira in 3,732 deals, contributing to 29.67% and 25.86% the total equity turnover volume and value respectively. The National Association of Nigerian Travel Agencies, NANTA, has said the refusal of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to release $450 million in funds belonging to foreign airlines operating in the country has paralyzed the travel agencies industry. Speaking to Atlantic Television, the association president, Mrs. Susan Akporia, said that the situation is now so dire. For some time, travel agents have been unable to sell tickets because foreign airlines have removed the lowest base fare from their price inventory and replaced it with the higher ones in order to bypass the CBN and buy forex in the parallel market. She said that at the moment, many of their customers who wish to travel for summer vacations and students who are studying abroad and want to travel to resume their studies are stranded in Nigeria because they cannot afford the exorbitant cost of flight tickets. Parents She said the current situation presents a real threat to the industry and continuity of their business as travel professionals, bearing in mind the potential job loss and the attendant national economy losses as the world is gradually coming out of the pandemic era. Forex shortage have made airfares on international routes expensive because airlines have now closed the lower airfare inventories. Sukkot has finally come the way of airline operators and air traffic controllers as the installation of airfield ground lightning system on the local runway of airport has since commenced. Stakeholders in the sector would describe the development as commendable, said the project, when completed in 90 days, would cut down on the cost of operations for airlines. In this special report, our aviation correspondent also highlights the importance of lightning system to safety and the benefits to operators and other stakeholders. Just as lights illuminate a dark room, so does light on the runway of airports. These lights in different colors aid pilots to land and take off. They are like directional signs to guide taxis of aircraft, among others. These colorful lights have a profound impact on safety, especially when the sun sets or during poor visibility. For over 12 years, due to the absence of this light, domestic flights after sunset use the international airport runway to land and take off, a development which has put a lot of strain on operators and passengers, resulting in delays in landing and take-off both for local and international flights at that time of the day. Managing Director of Federal Airport Authority of Nigerian FAN, Captain Rabiu Yududu, said the delay in the lightning system installation was due to approval processes. Still on the news, New Zealand's central bank has lifted its benchmark interest rate by half a percentage points to 2.5% as it attempts to combat inflation. It was the third time this year that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has lifted the cash rate by 50% basic points following hikes in April and May. There was also a quarter percentage point rise in February. The bank has forecast that the rates will peak at 4% late next year. It said in a statement that it remains appropriate to continue to tighten monetary conditions at pace to maintain price stability and support maximum sustainability employment. New Zealand's inflation is running at 6.9% and the unemployment rate is 3.2%. The banks manipulate interest rates by trying to contain inflation 1% and 3%. The bank will next consider running the cash rate as its meeting ends. The hike came as the central bank, another of the region's, low an historic half-point interest rate hike, lifting the benchmark rate to 2.25%. We'll go for a short break. The ability to right company, that is the legitimate, rewarded ones to do business with, not jumping into anyone you see, as Nigerians literally do. A multi-level marketing company that is focused on recruiting of persons into the network but does not pay any commission or reward anyone for recruiting others. It pays commission based on products sold, not